brief message for the overachievers out there, and I'm talking about myself too. Recently, I was talking to a friend about how there's a lot of discourse about labeling young children as gifted or as high achievers, and a lot of that kind of snowballs into those same children being overachievers. Both of us really identify with those labels because that was our experience as children. And moving into adulthood, we've seen a lot of discourse about how some of the negative outcomes of being labeled as gifted or high achieving kind of come out as people get older. Two of those negative trends or negative patterns that we see a lot are imposter syndrome, getting out in the real world and realizing that you're not the only person who's talented or gifted, or imposter syndrome or perfectionism, because a lot of times you need it to really hone in on and obsess about being perfect in order to be competitive in that pool of people. But as we know, in the real world, perfectionism can be harmful to a degree. But one of the outcomes that recently came to mind and that I've never heard talked about before, that's not to say that it hasn't been, but I haven't heard it talked about before, is I think that as high achievers / overachievers, we also get caught up in this negative feedback loop where we are unable to ask for help, particularly as adults. And I think a large part of that is because we don't really have to ask for a lot of help. When we are younger, we are able to kind of take initiative, figure things out ourselves, excel at things by ourselves. When we're in group projects, we're not necessarily the person who's the face or the voice of that group, but we're the people behind the scenes who are like the glue, who are keeping the train on the tracks, who are keeping it all together. We're harmonious, we're making plans, we're following through on the plans. That group functions like a well-oiled machine, largely because of the people who are at that age labeled as overachievers. The problem with that is that there are very few parts of adulthood that we can do successfully and sustainably without help from other people. And I think that for a lot of us who have not exercised the habit of asking for help and accepting help, it can be really, really difficult in order to get that help. So one of the things that I always say to my students who enrolled in Health Professionals to Health Writers, like even from our kickoff call, we're going to have our kickoff call on January 8th. I'm going to say it to this new cohort on January 8th. If you need help, ask for help. I have no way of knowing if you need help or support unless you ask. But that is easier said than done for a lot of people. It's not always as simple as just raising your hand and verbalizing what you need when you have not had that experience of having to raise your hand or having to figure out how to verbalize what you need. It doesn't mean that you don't need support. It just means that you don't necessarily know how to ask for that support, or you don't necessarily know how to receive that support. So I wanted to say this. I wanted to put this out there and kind of get y'all's feedback on it, especially if you are a healthcare professional who kind of has had this experience of being considered a high achiever, gifted, kind of snowballing into overachievement, and now are at a place where you have a really hard time accepting help and asking for help. Please feel free to share your experiences. What I want to challenge us to do is to do the internal work that's going to be required, that I know personally is required because I'm having to do it myself, that is required to ask for help. Regardless of what aspect of your life you're thinking about this in, whether it's your personal life, your family life, your relationships with friends, your work, your business, even speaking to the group of you all who are interested in medical writing and health content writing. How do you identify what your need is, verbalize that need, and then ask for help? Because there are people out there who are willing to help you, again, regardless of what aspect of your life you're talking about. I'm here to help healthcare professionals who are interested in health content writing and moving into 2023, kind of looking at the broader medical writing spectrum as well. So that's a resource, right? I'm a resource for people. There are other people and other organizations and other tools that are resources for you in whatever ways that you need help. So in the same ways that I'm going to be seeking help with my business, seeking help in my personal life, all of that good stuff, I challenge you to join me on this journey and also think about places and aspects of your life in which you can start to build the muscle of asking for and receiving help as well.